Good evening, everyone. I welcome you all to this webinar connected under the project code Unnati. Project Code Unnati basically handles three things. One is the woman entrepreneurship. The other one is regarding training the students about entrepreneurship. And third is the career guidance and counseling. I am today engaging with Ajay Raghunandan under the program of career guidance and counseling to the youth. So Ajay Raghunandan is a chemical engineer and he is a design professional by passion and intent. After his engineering, he worked with Art Flute, a platform for artists, where he built his design aesthetics. He understood the technological and market point of view, working with Urban Piper, which built digital platforms for the food business. He upskilled himself in design through self reading, professional courses, and doing freelance gigs, leading to his current ongoing design work with Smooth, a very well known brand when it comes to premium chocolates and more. Welcome to the webinar, Ajay. It's a great pleasure to have you here.
Thank you so much, Anshika and Soshi. It's a great pleasure for me to be here too.
Thank you, Ajay, for taking out your time on a Sunday evening. So to begin with, what is your current role as a graphic designer? Like, what exactly do you do?
So, with regards to the current role, as a graphic designer, I have the responsibility of ensuring that the visual aspect of communication and the touch points from the brand are appealing and in sync across different platforms. That is keeping in mind the business and the customers. And this will, of course, flow into different formats as you dive deeper, which is online or offline. And it can, and you'll have different uh, like formats. When I say, I mean, say your menus or your online marketing material or offline marketing material like your hoardings and stuff. So graphic design has like a huge variety on which it flows into. But at the core of it, it's about how it's being communicated visually and being able to sort of create that and make it appear from the brand's point of view to the customers.
Sounds really very interesting. So can you actually tell me a little in more in detail, like what exactly is graphic designing and how is UX and UI? What is the similarities or what's the differences between them?
So, so if we start with what design is, it's about creating and building something that is visually appealing and functionally easy, keeping in mind the customer at the heart of it, right? So in that sense, design overall is about uh, creating the communication challenge and making life easier for the user. Now, design, if you see graphic design and UI and UX, graphic design and UI fall under the umbrella of visual design. And UX is about the functional and experiential aspect of the design. Now, for example, if you were to walk into a restaurant, uh, how you are being met, how you're being treated, would end up, metaphorically speaking, would be the graphic design aspect of it. And how the chain is being run, the overall experience and how fast you get your food, how you get it, all that would fall on the experiential aspect, right? So in that sense, uh, one is about the visual element and one is about the experiential element. And when you say experience, it encompasses everything, right? From the beginning of the touch point with the customer to the end touch point. Now, between graphic design and UI itself, UI as user interface, graphic design has to do a lot more with static elements and marketing material, in my perspective. Say your logo, your fonts, your colors, your imagery. And when it comes to user interface, I believe it was associated more to do with your digital platforms, right? So it's when people usually hear the word UI, it's to do with, say, your apps or your websites and so on. But of course, that's growth. And so, though it overlaps a lot, user interface still can be differentiated when you say it has a bit more of a functional aspect, like how the menu is or how the button functions. And those aspects also come under the umbrella of UI. So, although it overlaps, there are differentiators.
Nice. It's very interesting to know about the differences. So, what exactly do you think are the knowledge, the skill, and the mindset which somebody who wants to explore a career in graphic designing needs to have?
So one thing you can start is by asking yourself if you are visually inclined to looking at visuals and even creating them. Because at the end of the day, graphic design is about visual communication. And you can start by asking these questions. Of course, like you will know much better and you will have a concrete answer for yourself only once you dive into it, experience it. And if it's not for you, you can always move out of it. But apart from this, I think the sort of mindset that one can carry is has to do with say empathy, because at the end of the day you're going to do it for the customer, right? So you it's to do with having empathy, having patience, of course, because it is a time consuming process and you will have to work through a lot of iterations and so on. And thirdly, I would say being open minded, because design is a massive field and a lot of fields work together within design itself, like say your UI, your UX, and graphic design. So having that open mind and wanting to grow and learn is what will set you on the right path in my purview.
That
Yeah.
is real. That's, I think, one of the good advice which you can give. So, coming to that, what is the best advice that you receive in your career uh, till now, and which you would want to share it with the youngsters?
So an advice that I sort of resonated with came through as a story during one of the conversations, and it may or may not pertain to career, but of course, like this is what I strongly felt. So the story is about two seeds which are in the soil, and it's a conversation between those two seeds, and one seed is telling the other, if I grow and push myself out of the soil, I could be eaten by an animal, or there could be thunder and rain and washing, and the soil may move away. But on the other hand, the other seed says, but what if there is sun and you're able to grow? What if you were able to see more just like you and you're able to grow? And what if you're enough able to get enough nutrients? What if you're taken care of by nature itself? So it's always, I mean, even in any situation, we are sometimes held by fear. So this story sort of reminds me that, there could be or there is another aspect to things. And it's about like going and exploring more than anything. And yeah,
That is also reminds me of my favorite quote, which says that, "What if I fall, but what if I fly?" So
exactly.
it's always about how you take things. And yes, that is how I believe the youngsters should have that mindsets, that it is okay to fail, but as long as you have a balance and you know that there are always good days.
Right.
So moving ahead, yeah, you are also one of these many engineers around who have actually moved to a different field. So what did actually attract you to graphic design, and how did you actually make a move? Because sometimes engineers do find themselves, it becomes a little difficult having a degree in some other field and trying to make a career in some other field.
So what happened was I finished my engineering in chemical, and up, around that time I hadn't really, while choosing engineering, I hadn't really given myself enough time to really sort of explore the different streams before jumping in. Uh, Post that, I knew engineering I would not really stick on, though I loved science and learning more things. Beyond that, I switched into careers which were pertaining to operations in a field that was pertaining to operations. So I did operations for like 2.5 years, tech and non-tech based. Post that, I took a break and I'm like, I don't think this is for me. And when I took the time off to explore, I I realized that if I always loved art or creating art as a kid, and since And every now and then I would always make a piece of art, and that gave me that sort of happiness and joy, uh, because art is really close to me. So when I had taken the time off, I did take my time to explore design, and from the comfort of my home. So I was able to sort of break away the barriers of having to go to college and so on, and just made sure that I took up and learned things online first before I really jumped into anything concretely. So, but at the end of 1 year, I had learned enough to sort of take the deep dive and get into the career of design. So it was about that uh, want to create something visually, liking art and psychology, and seeing myself be and seeing the pieces that are created at the end of the work is are what are some things that appealed to me and what kept me on.
That is really nice to know. And since you actually did a bunch of online courses, so could you actually recommend us undergraduate students who might want to be a graphic designer or explore what kind of online or offline resources they can actually look into to start actually exploring this field if they want to?
Right. So the amazing part of the time that we live in today is that everything is easily accessible to you or to anyone through uh, the internet, right? So you can just break that barrier of having to say maybe get into a course that you may or may not like, and then having to drop off. So you can always explore uh, different segments through videos or online courses, and these are readily available. So what one can always do is just sort of uh, see if this is appealing by just maybe signing up for a course that isn't too expensive, or looking at a couple of videos and trying them out yourself, like the software and stuff. So, but if you actually spend some time, you'll be able to see that there are a ton of courses that are really good, in fact. So I did a lot of my learning from Interaction Design Foundation, which covers different aspects of design, like right from graphic design to UX, right? So along with that, there are also courses like from Google right now, and HubSpot pertaining to design itself. Or there probably will be boot camps where you live, or you can even maybe attend UX UI conferences, design conferences, to sort of get an idea. And softwares are available, and you can just try them out, like a free version of it. Just see if that appeals to you, and then move on. And another what I would strongly recommend is, if you are getting into the field, then being able to pick up resources and reading books. I felt that uh, when I was able to read books, it was as a teacher sort of explaining to me different aspects right from where I'm sitting. So they opened up worlds that uh, far more easily than otherwise through work or anything.
So, any particular book recommendation or software recommendation which you will give it to a beginner?
Uh, that's so. If you can, uh, then there are a lot of software substitutes that are available online. Like for example, you have Photopea, which is the uh, Photopea, which is a good substitute for Photoshop, for example. Or uh, there are there is even one for Illustrator that I'm not able to recollect, but a simple Google search will be able to let you onto these softwares. And in terms of books, for me, I think what gave me a good idea of what design is brand. It's a book called Brand Identity, and it's by Alina Wheeler. So that is a good book that I really enjoyed. Uh, there is another book called Made to Stick that covered a lot of these fundamentals for me, and it was depicted in terms of just basic shapes uh, of how design can impact someone's view. That was really nice. I'm actually onto another book that is really recommended called Don't Make Me Think. So I would recommend it with that. Yeah.
Yeah, those are really nice recommendation. I've just started, but don't make me think. So even yeah, I agree with
Yeah.
that. So next, if we actually go on, which are the sectors you think right now graphic designers and UX UI people are being hired?
So the great part is that design is becoming the core sort of role to any industry and sector because it has the user at the end of it, and it's about making certain services or products more enjoyable, which will eventually lead to a great ROI for the company itself. So, and it's really nice that in the past few years that people have opened up and uh, the field itself has grown a lot. So, in that sense, I think designers are not short of uh, opportunities in any sector, to be honest. At the core of it, of course, like you will have design agencies and visual agencies or field sectors where, like for example, media production houses or and so on, right? So, but there are very good opportunities which are paying well even in say your fintech industry, for example, because they would have to communicate and they would have to create a pleasing product because at, the users are facing issues when we are breaking new boundaries. There are startups and ideas. It's about how we can reduce these barriers and make the product more acceptable and make the user's life more easier, right? So in that sense, I think design field is uh, everywhere.
Yeah, I think right now with all this work from home and other areas, even the education industry is like needing a lot of graphic designers
Yeah,
because the education industry is mostly now going online and they obviously need good graphic designers. So I think
right,
yes, the industry is like growing in leaps and bounds.
right.
So, what would you suggest students who want to actually go into this field? Should they wait for finishing their college, or should they start picking up the skills in the college, like start using the Adobe Photoshop, what you said, a free version, and trying it?
So the thing is, I think since everything is so easily accessible, you can. I would recommend just diving into it because nowadays the people are not limited to being accessible to things. So in that sense, I feel they should be able to explore it. And if they do enjoy it, then they can pursue that further. And if they don't enjoy it, they can always take the time out to switch and use their time to uh, figure something else out for themselves, right? So in that sense, and because uh, it's also become a good means of generating uh, revenue for people outside of the mainstream of work as well. So in that sense, I would say just sort of pick a good source and not maybe see multiple sources and then get lost in it. Just start trying out with whatever little you can and then sort of dig in deeper, speak to people, and then go on from there.
Yeah, and how well do you think this industry is accessible to people having, say, some issues like a disability issue or some? Will it be okay for such to people also to explore it? Will it? Is the industry welcoming?
Right. So design at its core, since it's keeping like the user, as I mentioned, right? So in that sense, if you see, designing for accessibility is also extremely key, and it is growing. And it is really nice to see it being accepted everywhere now. And with that, there are norms and rules and guides in place from different organizations that uh, you can sort of refer, search out, and then be able to apply them. So in that sense, it is welcoming, uh, and it allows you to sort of take charge and be able to uh, empathize with all users and make sure that products, services, and better lifestyles are accessible to everyone. So in that sense, it is open. And for example, even you can just take your like website, right? So even images have like an alternate text or voice. So that will be able to speak to different users. So in that sense, it is welcoming and there is opportunity. And the more welcoming we are, I think we will be, the better it is because we will be able to understand people amongst us and make life more easy and better for everyone.
Yeah, even I see a lot of these days there's a lot of stress on inclusivity, and I see a lot of
Yeah,
designs. If you see actually a lot of websites or even a basic design, I was seeing a McDonald's they had changed the design on how they would actually give something to a person so that the
right.
other person is able to accessible. So yeah, I do think this industry is really welcoming.
Yeah.
And what are the myths you have come across about this industry which you would actually want to burst? Like, okay, this is the biggest myth about graphic design and UX UI.
So one of the biggest that I've seen is that graphic design is easy, uh, and that can uh, that is uh, far from the truth because designing at its core involves a lot of thinking, researching, iteration, and working on different aspects, and then figuring out and agreeing upon what you want to go ahead with. But a lot of times it gets dismissed as it is easy. Why don't you just put this? It's hey, it's about just putting this. Because even if it is just minimalism, even that has a certain thought process to it, and that's probably one myth that I'd like to sort of break uh, to yeah, being able to speak about it more at such platforms that we are right.
Yeah, I do think it's not really very easy because, even if you have to design a simple, very logo, a lot of thought process because it becomes an identity goes into it. So if you have to do an actual entire graphic designing and have to market things to every sort of customers, you'll have to really be very on your toes and understand what can actually be good and what can actually fail because a bad graphic design could actually lead to failures. I'm very
Exactly.
sure. uh, so yeah, so what is one advice you would like to give the young people who want to actually join this field?
Excuse me. So one thing that I would like to tell the people getting into it is to sort of stick to the fundamentals of design because that will carry you further than anything else. Because at the end of the day, users' mentality is slow to change, but the world around is changing fast, and it's about understanding why these fundamentals work. Because and it's not to say that tools aren't important. Tools are important as well because that's what will carry and be able to showcase your fundamentals too. But at the end of the day, once you've learned a tool, it does not mean that you can forget your fundamentals. Otherwise, design would not entirely be there for you. So it's I would tell them to sort of keep going back to the fundamentals and see why certain things work and being able to compare and sort of build design from there.
Yeah, I think that's one advice which I think everybody should keep in mind that no matter how easy or how tough things are with tools, the fundamentals, as long as you know your fundamentals, you can
Right,
actually go ahead and do things. Because these days, all of us have become very dependent on tools. You don't know this,
right,
just go do this too. And then you forget your fundamentals, which could be very risky.
right.
So yeah, all right, Ajay. It was really a great pleasure interacting with you and getting to know so much about graphic designing and how you actually transition into the sector. Is there any closing advice? Is there any closing words which you would like to say to anyone who aspire to be a graphic designer?
Uh, yeah, actually, I would just tell them to maybe be able to take it slow, uh, learn as much as you can, and every once in a while, pat yourself on the back for actually putting in the hard work. Because in this industry, you can get lost by seeing so much work out there at times, and through that, your confidence can be beaten. So it's about also having that perspective that uh, of forming your own identity and your work, being able to learn from others' work and then grow from there. So it can get really hard, but it can get really good as well.
That is
So
actually a very fantastic advice. And I think it, irrespective of fields, this actually holds good for everyone, that do not get lost
yeah,
and keep working hard, because hard
yeah,
work definitely gives results. So
yeah.
thank you so much again, Ajay, for sparing time on a Sunday afternoon
Thank
and interacting with us. And this would really be helpful to other youngsters who would actually want to make a shift to graphic designing but are not aware what they have to do.
you.
And yes, we are really glad that you could give us your time.
It's been a pleasure right from the beginning, and I hope we can have or more such talks. But this has been really great. Thank you so much, Anshika, and thank you so much, Toshi, for having me on the chat today.
Thank you so much.